Hello, all of our Facebook followers, friends, and family. I'd like to welcome you to the Garden Challenge. But before we get started, I'd like to explain how this kind of morphed into being. You see, everybody has a part in the garden, and I want to explain a little bit of how we got to where we are. So, first of all, we had to clear a garden space. This was overgrown, and then we had to till up every bit of this garden. Then, of course, we had to add some pretty fencing, or at least some fencing, to keep the dogs from running through it. And we started our first crops: peas, onions, a few other things. The peas, of course, grew up and they were doing great. We got 100% germination. And then, of course, they turned into a wonderful crop. After they were all done with the wonderful crop, we decided we needed to come out and we needed to clear out the old peas and start a succession planting of something more that likes more hot weather. Well, as we were going through pulling up all of the old done peas, sweet sugar snap peas, by the way, we started realizing that the garden in general was overgrown. It was full of weeds, and even though most everybody was pitching in here or there, we found out that for the most part it was the ladies who really enjoyed being out in the garden. So as we were pulling the weeds out of this row of peas and pulling the peas out and getting it ready to plant the next crop, which by the way happened to be cucumbers, we started to realize that we needed a way to feel really super motivated to come out to the garden. And what motivates you to get out to the garden? Well, plenty motivates you. Being outside is a motivator. The exercise is a motivator. Food, the fresh air. There are so many things that motivate people about coming out and working in the garden, but it is hard work. So every once in a while you look at the garden, it's overgrown, it's got grass, it's got weeds, and you think, maybe tomorrow, right? So as we were busy pulling out all these weeds and peas, we started to have a conversation. What would really motivate us to get out here, even when we didn't want to, even when it was hot, cold, rainy, there were a lot of weeds? We decided that there's nothing quite like a challenge or a competition to motivate somebody. So what kind of challenge or competition could we come up with? Well, we have several different types of plants, and we thought, well, we could compete against each other since we were pretty much the people who are the most interested in the garden. The guys help with the big stuff. As you saw, they helped us clear that massively overgrown spot. And of course, my husband ran all of the tractor implements and such to till up all of this ground. They were the ones who put in all the fence posts and all the heavy lifting. So they've done a lot. But when it comes to coming out here, pulling all these weeds like we are here in this video, and planting stuff, watching it grow, things like that, they'd rather do something else, something harder. Like build this amazing rock wall that they started to put in. You can see it a little bit behind Lily's shoulders and behind where I am in this video. They started to put in a really amazing rock wall from all of the rocks that we had gathered up, pulling out all of this dirt and tilling it up. A lot of rocks came to the surface, but also the lady that was here before us loved to line her flower beds with these big, beautiful rocks. Now, don't get me wrong, it looked beautiful, and I think the work that she put in was amazing. However, it's really difficult to mow around rocks. The jagged lines make it hard, so you have to get out the weed eater and always just trim it up. So for me, I'm a little bit of a lazy mower, and I like to just push the mower all the way up into the plants, and if it's a perennial, I like to just mow those down as well. Now, Blessed Beyond Measure is all about how blessed you are, no matter how little you have, right? In our very first video, we explained that if there's something you need to get done, look around. You likely have exactly what you need. Either you have somebody who knows how, or some other project, material, something along those lines that will get the job done, maybe unconventionally, but it'll still get the job done. So in this particular case, this rock wall, you can start to see how it's coming up on your left in this video, it is a blessed beyond measure type thing, and there's going to be a video, I'll put a link to it down below, about how they build this rock wall. So we've been harvesting all of these rocks all around the property and making them into a rock wall. Why? Well, because this garden is slightly on a slant, and that's a good thing here because I have never had a garden where I have to make sure that the water gets out of my garden. But here it rains so much that you really do have to train your water how to get out of the garden. Otherwise you'll swamp your garden, and it doesn't actually like that. So this rock wall is becoming a retaining wall. And Blessed Beyond Measure, again, is all about using whatever you have to do whatever you need. So we started a rock wall there, and the guys have been building that. Take a look out for that video because it's coming soon. It is pretty cool. Anybody can do it. Anyways, moving back to the garden challenge. As we were pulling these weeds and talking about what would challenge us and having this competition, well, what could we feel motivated for? So we decided that a $50 gift certificate to any store we want sounded really motivating, but how could we win? So that was when we started deciding that we would divide up the garden by types of plant or types of fruits and types of harvest, I guess you could say. And we would apply a couple to each person. So for example, I work a little bit of everything. However, I chose roots and greens. So carrots, beets, lettuce, cabbage, etc. Lily decided she really enjoys squash. She's a master squash bug finder. Ask her to teach you sometime. Maybe we'll make a video. And cucumbers. Those are two of her absolute favorites. Ashley loves tomatoes. I think she could eat 5 pounds of tomatoes a day if you let her. So she decided she wanted tomatoes and melons. And Mabel really enjoys training the green beans that are poles into a beautiful like fence line of green. She also enjoys the green beans themselves. They hardly make it inside. And she also enjoys corn. So she's growing a bantam corn and green beans of all sorts, pole and bush. So we decided if we were going to divide up our basic crops that way, that we would have to find a way how to win. Okay, well, you weigh in your crops, right? That's number one. Weigh in your crops. But then we decided what would really be fun is to also make it a competition online. So I'm going to post this video on Facebook. And you're going to notice there's going to be a remark all the way through this on about how to comment in the Facebook post with the name of the person that you're voting for. So if you want to vote for Lily to win, put Lily in the comments. Mabel, so on and so forth. Please only vote one time for each kid or for each person. I know we have our favorites, but if you want to vote for every single kid, you can do that. Just don't vote more than one time for each person. So let's recap. We're going to weigh everything in. We're going to vote for our favorites on Facebook. And we're going to find out when the first frost hits who had the most poundage and the most votes. Stay tuned for a little highlight and don't forget to vote, vote, vote. don't forget to go to the Facebook page and vote for your favorite garden challenge. But even more so, it is super helpful if you would click that like and subscribe button below this video, and we appreciate every bit of time that you spend with us here on Blessed Beyond Measure. We truly are blessed by you, blessed beyond measure.